Does teaching the alphabet even matter? Does teaching the alphabet even matter? Welcome to Aja. Woo, woo, I said Aja. Welcome to Aja. Y'all, bear with me. Welcome to everything, Aja. I am so excited to dive into such a deep topic and issue that is impacting our youth and early literacy. So let's get into this question, allowing us to literally dive even deeper, not just dive into deeper and okay, what does the alphabet mean, but what does this mean literally to our children? How can we address teaching the alphabet? And I want to come from a research based perspective on the importance of alphabet instruction. Once again, my name is Aja. For those that are new here, welcome to everything. Aja, I am so excited that you are here on today. Let me just tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Aja. I do have my EDS. I have both my master's and my bachelor's degree in early childhood education, and then I have my specialist degree in educational leadership. So do have 3 degrees in education. Whoop, whoop. I am currently and have been an educational consultant, meaning that I am an independent educational consultant. I go around to schools. I have courses. I have a membership called Teaching by Design, in which monthly I give professional development and support and coaching to women all over the globe, just like you, on how to teach their young ones how to read and support them through that process. I also have my own curriculum called Reading by Design that literally addresses all of this, how to teach the alphabet. And I do professional developments. I speak. I'm also an author, so have done all those things, right? I have been a kindergarten through 5th grade curriculum specialist, which actually kind of led me into what I'm doing now. So that means I've been an administrator over all things teaching and learning. I have taught pre-K and 5th grade. Majority of my teaching years were spent kind of early literacy, and then also in 5th grade. I have over 10 plus years. Ain't gonna give y'all all my numbers, but 10 plus years in Title I schools. What is a Title I school? Title I school is a school where majority of the kids fall under the category of having free and reduced lunch, meaning they're below what's called the poverty line. And so I've dealt with those kind of environments, and always being in those environments, you run across a lot of struggling readers. I have over 15 years of experience in education, and I do have my reading endorsement. Now, I'm not just on YouTube to be on YouTube. In fact, I have a mission here to empower other Christian women just like myself, be able to confidently nurture the next generation, both academically and spiritually, all while walking in God's will and maintaining a balanced personal life. You are just as important as the children that you serve. You are just as important as the children that you teach. You are just as important as all those lesson plans, all of those late nights and so forth. You are just as important. Somebody comment that right now in the chat box. Like, just say, I am just as important as the child that I teach or the children that I teach, depending on if you're just teaching one child or 100, right? You are just as important. And so I empower you so that you can go and empower them, right? Empowering you to empower them. So wherever you are right now, I just need you to speak it. I need you to say it. I need you to type it in the chat box. I am just as important as the children that I teach. All right. So we want to have this whole balanced life, right? Teaching and living, and how do those two things coexist? And that's what I'm here to teach you here at Everything Aja. Now, today we are actually kicking off day 1 in a 3-day boot camp all about early literacy and teaching the alphabet. Today, I want us to dive into this question: why are we even talking about the alphabet? Why? I started off by saying, is teaching the alphabet actually important? Right? Why are we even here talking about the alphabet? Why am I wasting my night talking about the alphabet? Why are you, I won't say wasting because that's such a strong word. Why am I spending the night, my night, it's 7 o'clock PM where I am. Why am I even sacrificing my family time in order to teach you the alphabet because it's that important. And so let's dive into this topic even more. I do want to let you know I am completely open for questions. For those of you guys that are watching live, please feel free, drop your questions in the chat box as we go. At the end, I will answer your questions. If you're watching and watching this replay, no worries. Do the same thing. Type in your questions, in the chat box, and then I will comment below and even address some of the questions that you guys may have in next week's workshop. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But know that if you have a question throughout this mini training, you are in a safe place to go ahead and get your question answered. All right. So before we get into diving into why are we even talking about the alphabet, I do want to make sure that we're using the same kind of terminology. So I want us to recall the definition of letter recognition. You're going to see a lot of times I use the term letter recognition, and if you don't know what that is, I just want to make sure that we all understand what that is. Letter recognition is simply the ability to visually identify and name each letter of the alphabet. That means if I see the letter K, I can say that is K. If I see the letter P, it's backwards. P, I can say that's P. I can visually identify that this letter is this letter, literally. All right. And this includes both uppercase letters and lowercase letters. So children should be able to visually identify and be able to name each letter of the alphabet, whether it's a capital or a lowercase letter. Now, I like to say uppercase and lowercase, but I said capital because sometimes we say capital. So I just want to make sure that you guys do know those two like uppercase and capital are interchangeable, but the appropriate name is uppercase. All right, so why are we talking about the alphabet? Well, number one, the alphabet is more than just letters. It's the gateway to reading, writing, and long-term academic success. When it comes to the actual alphabet, it is the foundation of early literacy and language development. In fact, everything that a child learns in English language arts stems from learning the alphabet. With the alphabet, letter recognition, which we just talked about, and understanding letter sound relationships are essential skills for learning to read and learning to write. And so we walk away with this understanding that, okay, when it comes to the alphabet, right, it almost has like this cause and effect to it. The alphabet serves as the foundation. In fact, let's get into some research. I just don't want you to think I'm just out here just telling you anything. A study done called Phonemic Awareness and Letter Knowledge in the preschool classroom by Teresa Roberts stated that letter recognition is a strong predictor, come on now, of reading ability in young children. Children who can actually recognize and name letters are more likely to develop strong decoding skills, which are crucial and essential for reading success. And so this whole letter recognition thing, it actually can predict how children will be able to read later on in life. And a little bit more research, I'm just going to let you know this is research based. The same study stated that it is the most reliable predictor of future reading ability among preschoolers. Another study done stated that the ability to recognize letters and their corresponding sounds is a fundamental skill that underlines successful reading. Without these skills, children are likely to struggle with reading acquisition. Another study said that phonemic awareness and letter knowledge are the two best school entry predictors of how well children will learn how to read during the first 2 years of instruction. Following that, another study done stated that early literacy skills, particularly, come on now, letter recognition that we were just talking about, are crucial for children's reading development. These skills form the building blocks for all future learning. And so we see this commonality, okay, that learning letters and learning letter sounds, this whole alphabet learning, so I say, serves as like this foundation, and there's all of these cause and effect issues with it, or I won't say issues because it also can be positive, right? So let's talk about building the foundation of reading. We just stated that the foundation of reading is found through simply letter recognition. Well, the alphabet serves as almost the starting point for all reading and writing. Okay, yes, there's phonemic awareness, which is dealing with sounds, right? But the sounds are the sounds of what? The alphabet. And so it goes right back to the alphabet. There's a reason why the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, the alphabet song is one of the first songs that we teach our young learners. Letter recognition helps children understand how sounds map onto written language. And so it has like this really important foundation. And so when it comes to this, look, Miss Mimi said interesting. When it comes to this, imagine talking like I'm talking to you right now. The first part of this is understanding that the sounds that you hear actually turn into words. And so as early as a child, entering out of the womb, they're beginning to hear you. Okay, they might not be able to understand you, but they're hearing you. They're hearing the words that you're saying, and they're trying to grasp contextual meaning to the words that you're saying. And over time, as children begin to hear all of these words that you're saying, the sounds then become words. And so just same way that sounds become words is literally how the alphabet works to build the foundation of reading and writing. Imagine this, learning the alphabet. I love a good analogy. Anybody else love a good analogy? Love a good analogy. All right, so imagine this. Learning the alphabet is like building the base of a sturdy house. I don't know about you, but I've never seen a construction worker or anybody else start with the walls. Like, imagine what would happen if you lived in a house that did not have the foundation at the bottom first. And if you notice when they build houses, they make sure that the bottom is done first. That's the foundation. They have about a whole I don't know how tall it is, but I'm just gonna say at least a foot, right, of cement. They make sure that there's a sturdy foundation before they even get to wood. What if they use the wood as a foundation? Could you imagine the first time you fell on the floor, you might break the house literally, dirt would come out. But the first thing that every builder has to do is set a firm foundation. And so your firm foundation for reading and writing is learning the alphabet. Learning the alphabet is literally like building upon the base of a sturdy house. All right, so let's talk about why letter recognition is essential. We understand that, okay, this is the base, right? The base of the house is learning the alphabet, but why is it so important? Why is it the foundation? Why can't we just completely skip into going to not letter names, but words, right? Well, early mastery of letter recognition actually predicts reading success. I'm going to say that one more time. Early mastery of letter recognition predicts reading success. And little children or children that struggle with letter recognition can actually lead to having difficulties with reading, fluency, and comprehension later on in life. And so you see on a positive and negative perspective just how important letter recognition is. I want us to think about, anybody like doing puzzles? One of my favorite pastimes used to be doing puzzles. I like puzzles and I like coloring. I don't do them as much anymore, but I do miss it. Learning a new language, right? Because that's what children are doing. They're learning a new language. Even if English is their native language, they're learning a new language, especially in early literacy. And learning a new language without knowing the alphabet almost feels like trying to solve a puzzle without all the pieces, right? You're going to be left with gaps. You're going to be left with holes. You're going to be left with things that are going to cause that puzzle not to be complete, right? And that's exactly what will happen with the child. Now, we talked about reading being the foundation of we talked about learning the alphabet being the foundation of reading and writing. And so I wanted us to have like a visual of what does this actually look like. And so imagine each one of these blocks are different letter names. They're different letter formations, whether it's capital, or I won't say capital, uppercase or lowercase letters, or whether it's even the sound that the letter makes. Every block is a new skill that a child must learn when it comes to learning the alphabet. And so what this looks like is, let's say a child then learns the word cat. They can identify that this little picture is indeed a cat. Well, in order for them to now associate that base, right, of all of those different skills and all of those different components to learning the alphabet to this picture of a cat, they're going to have to know that the letter C makes the k sound, and that is the first sound that they hear in the word cat. Okay. The second thing they're going to have to then know is the middle sound, or the ah sound. Okay, they're going to have to know that that's the sound ah, and that the lowercase letter a will represent that sound. Then they're going to have to know the final sound, which is the t sound, and that the letter T represents the t sound. Because it's not a proper noun, you would also then teach them all of these would be written in lowercase letters. Now, sometimes people teach children all in uppercase just because uppercase letters are easier for children to learn, to recognize, and that is fine, if you want to do capital C, capital A, capital T. But eventually you want them to be able to understand that they need to then have lowercase letters. Okay. Or you can just teach them how to do it right from the beginning. All right. And so I also want to break this down. Okay, we talked about the alphabet being a thing that will then predict, right, later on reading success. So, okay, understanding how it works as a base is important, but how does this transform into later on in life? Well, the first thing a child would do at that early literacy phase, right, as a baby, is learn the names and the sounds of the actual letters. So that's what we're talking about. They're learning the letters. They're like A, awesome, B, C, etc. Right? And then there comes a point, right, a little bit later, once they know. So this is the point we're at right now, right? Learning the letters, learning our letter sounds. Once they learn the letters and learn the letter sounds, they can then begin to form words. Okay. So this is where, they can see a cat, they can go ats and put those three sounds together, thus forming the word cat. Okay. So we've gone from letter names and letter sounds to words. This is the progression of how this impacts them in later literacy. So letter sounds, letter names, words. Eventually, words then will become sentences. So this is where they can get a book that uses the word cat. For example, this book is called Cat Secrets. And it says, okay, if you're really a cat, let's hear you meow. And so eventually, right, those letter names and those letter sounds became became words. And then those words became sentences. You guys get me? And then sentences eventually will become other things until you grow up and now you happen to write contracts. Hello. And so it follows them and it progresses with children as they begin to get older. All right, so let's dive into our next question. So, what is automaticity and why does it matter? Simply put, automaticity is recognizing letters quickly and effortlessly. Now, I didn't put this up here, but mastery of automaticity is about 3 to 5 seconds. So, if you're taking notes, 3 to 5 seconds, what does that mean? That means a child should be expected to know that this is the letter F and be able to say and recall that that is the letter F within 3 to 5 seconds. That equals mastery. And so you want a child to be able to recognize the name and recognize the sound of letters within that 3 to 5 second window. That would be mastery. Now, as a child is approaching mastery, you may give them a little bit more time, like, okay, let's see if they can do it in 10 seconds, or with prompting. But automaticity, when we say, you want them to be automatic or fluent at letter recognition, we're thinking about 3 to 5 seconds. Also, with this, it frees up the mind to focus on understanding the text rather than decoding. Now, decoding is when you're breaking down words into different sounds. And so when kids are able to kind of have the letters, names, and letter sounds on autopilot, they can spend their time understanding what's actually happening in a story. It also supports a smooth transition when it comes to blending sounds and decoding unknown words. So this leads into later on in literacy, children are going to have to be able to read unknown words, words that they've never come across before, unfamiliar words. And in order to do that, they have to know all of their sounds and be very fluent at letter recognition and sound recognition. It also, early interventions that focus on developing automaticity can actually improve reading outcomes for struggling readers. And so if you're teaching early literacy, you and whatever curriculum you use, I want you to make sure that it has some kind of component that focuses on fluency, that focuses on automaticity, because automaticity is the thing that will begin to improve reading outcomes, right? When it comes to comprehension, when it comes to inferencing, when it comes to determining the theme, when it comes to understanding the unknown things, they need to be able to understand all of the vocabulary before they could even get into that. Automaticity is like driving a home on autopilot. I know one of my favorite things that I used to do, this was like early on in my 20s, I had got my first car that actually had autopilot. And I was like, oh, this is nice. Like on the highway when no traffic is there, because autopilot sucks if you have traffic. Don't use it. But when no cars in front of you, you can actually put your car on autopilot. So automaticity is like driving home on autopilot. It allows your mind to be free to think about other things. So as you know, you're just driving. Like if you notice, have you guys ever like gone home and you don't remember driving home? I know I'm not the only one. Like I've driven home before and I had no idea how I got home, because driving becomes so automatic, right? The street lights, as soon as your eyes see the color red on the street light, you immediately stop the car. Like as soon as I know I need to make a right, I just turn on my blinker. Like there's so many things after you've been driving for a while that are almost on autopilot, right? So that is what automaticity is. It's like driving home somewhere you go all the time. It starts to begin to run on autopilot, and it allows your mind to just start thinking about other things. So with reading, right? With reading, because a child has mastered their letter sounds and their letter names, they can then begin to focus on comprehension. Come on now, instead of decoding, instead of trying to figure out, okay, this word is the word cat, right? They can focus on, oh, well, cats like to go outside or like to go inside, and this is what they typically do. And like their minds can go on comprehension, whereas a child that does not have a firm foundation, come on now, in letter names and letter sounds, are left with trying to figure out what the word cat is. They ran across the word cat and they're like, okay, how do I read this word? And all of their focus is on trying to understand that unknown word versus comprehending in the story what is actually happening in the story. And so this is kind of how the alphabet affects children later on when it comes to reading and comprehending. And so we've learned that with automaticity, with the letters, it actually impacts children beyond just reading fluency. It leads them to have an improved reading fluency, being able to read not like a robot, but read at a great pace, have a nice expression. It allows them to read with comprehension, understanding the word, what they're actually learning about in the story, and it even helps them with spelling. One of the reasons my daughter is such a good speller now and she can encode, encoding is simply when a child almost does the opposite. They try to figure out how to spell a word simply based on the sounds, right? And they're writing it down. And it also sets the stage for long-term academic success in multiple subjects. I was just telling a story to my cousin today about when I used to teach middle school, and teaching eighth grade math is what I used to teach y'all. Eighth grade mathematics, I really miss it. Like, I love eighth grade math. But in teaching eighth grade mathematics, I never forget I had a student, and he was like, I mean, he did not want, he just, it was just a rough little time, simply because he didn't want to do the math, and he made it all about the math. And a lot of times children will begin to act out simply because there's some kind of insecurity with him. And so he was acting out, and I realized he only acted out whenever we had word problems. Every time there was a word problem in eighth grade math, majority of the problems are all word problems, right? They're not just the basic equations. They were all word problems. And every time I would give him a basic equation, he could try to figure it out. But as soon as that thing was in a word problem, oh, he was acting up in class. And I began to realize that his issue was reading. And so this exact point, it will begin to have a long-term academic success in multiple subjects. Here he is not being able to do math in eighth grade simply because he had a reading deficit. And so understanding that teaching the alphabet sets up a child for future success is just the beginning, y'all. It is just the beginning. It's almost like planting seeds, and I'm here with all the acronyms today. Okay, it's almost like planting seeds for a garden, right? You have to plant the seed, then you got to water it, then you got to put it in the sunlight, you got to take care of that thing, right? It grows into something that will be vibrant and fruitful. So if you want a child to actually be nurtured, if you want a child to actually be prosperous, right, later on in life, they have to start with that first thing first, which is alphabet recognition, letter recognition, sound recognition. They have to learn their sounds of the alphabet and their letters of the alphabet. And then over time, those things will be watered, they'll be planted, they'll be, pruned, and then it'll be able to sprout into this vibrant and wonderful prosperous student or person or scholar, should I say. I like the word scholar. I like that word. We're living in a day and age, though, where we're not putting the importance on where the importance needs to be found, or should I say, we're living in a day of age where it seems like there's so much going on that sometimes it can be hard to actually prioritize. Okay, what is it that I actually need to be focusing on? What is it that I actually need to spend all my time doing? And so you may be thinking, okay, with everything that's going on now, AI, technology is actually teaching the alphabets and teaching the letter sounds outdated. Is alphabet instruction something from the past, right? Well, some say that phonics or whole word approaches are enough, but research shows us the opposite. Research shows us that children need a comprehensive program that includes alphabet instruction, and those are the kind of programs that are actually most effective. Research also shows us that children need explicit instruction, meaning that they need time where you teach them, this is the letter C. C says K. This is how you write the letter C. They need that explicit instruction. It is crucial for their success. This is why the science of reading is such a big thing now, because for so many years, a lot of educational institutions were walking away from that, and all of these kids grew up with all of these gaps, and now here they are in our workforce. Come on now. There's a reason why I can't go anywhere without the child. Like, oh my goodness, I'm not even going to get into that right now. But these children are now young adults, and they have so many gaps. And it's because somewhere along the line, explicit instruction stopped. And so now, with research of studying how the brain works, we need explicit instruction. Our children need explicit instruction. Okay. And so research shows us that explicit instruction and letter recognition specifically helps close achievement gaps for children who are at risk of reading difficulties. And so when you have children that are high risk. What do I mean? Maybe they're in a low income area or maybe they're in an area where they didn't go to preschool, or they didn't go to any kind of early schooling, and they walk in kindergarten first time ever hearing the letter A. They are at risk of a reading difficulty. They are now behind. They are not ready for kindergarten, right? Their kindergarten readiness is really low. And so research shows us that that the explicit instruction and letter recognition specifically is the thing that will help close those achievement gaps. All right. Just going back to that same house situation, you wouldn't skip the step for foundation of building a house. You wouldn't just go to building the walls. So you wouldn't want to skip teaching the alphabet. Teaching the alphabet is literally the most important thing we can teach in early literacy instruction. And so I talked a lot about sound letter recognition, but I also want to go into letter sound recognition. This is simply the ability to identify and name each letter sound of the alphabet. It includes both saying a letter sound and identifying the letter that makes a certain sound. With this, we did this example. This is what sound recognition is. That in looking at this picture of a cat, right, I can then say, k. Well, k is the first sound of this word. K. That's the middle sound of this word. T is the ending sound of this word. If I put those three sounds together, I can then blend those sounds together and make the word cat. All right. So that's where sound recognition kind of leads into. In early literacy, it's just learning that makes the letter C sound, right? And also makes the letter K sound. And makes the letter A, right? You get y'all get what I'm saying. Y'all get what I'm saying, right? And so these skills all build upon one another. They're building blocks, as you may. And so in the long term, children who are shown that they are not ready, right? That they're not proficient in reading, actually begin to drop out when it comes to high school. They're 4 times more likely to drop out of high school. And children who enter kindergarten with strong literacy skills are actually more likely to become proficient. And so we see that the determining factor between high school dropouts actually goes all the way back to kindergarten. That's not surprising, because guess what they learn in kindergarten? Letter recognition and sound recognition. So we started off by one crucial question: does teaching the alphabet even matter? Yes, teaching the alphabet matters. Dun, dun, dun. Letter recognition and automaticity are crucial components of early literacy. Strong alphabet knowledge actually sets the stage for reading success and long-term academic achievement. Early and explicit instruction can lead to positive outcomes that extend beyond literacy. I've shared the example of my 8th grade student in math. He had got simply because he was missing this portion in his reading instruction. And so, does teaching the alphabet even matter? Absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. I did say if you guys have any questions in regarding to teaching the alphabet in and of itself, simply drop those down below. I cannot wait to address them, and then bring them back up at our workshop. So make sure you are at our workshop. Aja, what workshop are you talking about? Well, let me tell you what's next before we get into the workshop. What's next is, do you join me again, same time, same place tomorrow? We're going to dive into what is the correct approach for teaching the alphabet. Now that we know that teaching the alphabet is important, right? How do we go about that? Because you don't want to teach it wrong, because teaching it wrong would just allow a child to have a bigger learning gap. So how do we actually approach teaching the alphabet? That's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. We're going to go over the different approaches, and then I'm going to direct you and tell you which one is the correct one based on research. All right. All right. And then join us on Friday, because on Friday we have what to teach a child regarding the alphabet. So now that you know it's important, tomorrow we're going to talk about the way and approach into teaching the alphabet. And then Friday, what do we actually need to be teaching our children when it comes to the alphabet? And then if you want to dive even deeper and learn ways and strategies to do this in a way that is engaging the children, because if you know one thing about a child is that in early literacy, Y'all, they're busy. They are busy. They are busy, and their attention spans are like this short. And they're like, and they're all over the place. So, how do we make sure that they actually master these skills, right? So that they can actually have that automaticity that we talked about. How do we do that with such a confined time? Well, that's what we're going to talk about next Tuesday. I'm inviting you to join me in my workshop, Simple and Engaging Ways to Teach the Alphabet, or Simple Engaging Ways to Teach Letters to Children. It's going to be next Thursday. It is not going to be on Zoom. Not going to be on YouTube. We're actually going to be on Zoom. So you have to register. Dun, dun, dun. So right here in the chat box and also down below in the description, you'll see how to register for the workshop. I want a more intimate setting. The last time we did this, we did it on Zoom. And so, we did it on YouTube, and I want to jump back on Zoom. Also wanted to really make sure that you have everything you need to actually teach the alphabet correctly. And for those that are attending live, there will be a special prize for those that are coming on live. So, hey, only for those that are live though. Only for those that are joining the workshop live. So that will be next Tuesday at 7:00 p.m. October 29th at 7 p.m. Also, I just want to remind you why you need to come. This is how you build a strong foundation, not only academically for your children, but also spiritually. I'll kind of share ways that you can add that spiritual component if desired, right? You're going to learn new ways to keep lessons exciting for children. And then you'll leave with a practical tools and support to support you every ounce of the way. You'll learn creative strategies for teaching the letters of the alphabet, easy to implement activities that are going to make learning the alphabet fun, and then tips of balancing academics and faith-based lessons. So make sure that you register for that, for the workshop next Tuesday, 7:00 p.m. So everything's at 7:00 p.m. We're doing this 3-day boot camp, and then next Tuesday will be the finale at the workshop. And I cannot wait for that, because I'll be able to really talk to y'all and get into the nitty gritty. Don't forget, if you have any questions, definitely drop them down. You said hello. Welcome. Hey, you said thank you so much for your time this evening. Thank you so much for being here live. Look, make sure that you sign up for the workshop, because everybody that's on the workshop live, they get a special tool for teaching the alphabet. So make sure you sign up. Cannot wait to see you guys tomorrow as we dive into the correct approach to teach the alphabet. See you soon.